Welcome to my channel. I am Rupa Mason. Today I will explore the concepts of event storming in the domain-driven development context. This is one of the part of the step-by-step tutorials for microservices. Let's get started. Event storming. Event storming is a workshop format for quickly exploring complex business domains. This workshop-based method invented by Alberto Brandolini to quickly find out what is happening in the domain of a software program approach. It has its roots in the domain-driven approach. Although you don't need to know anything about DDD to use event storming with your team. A domain event is something meaningful that happened in the domain. Rather than having an architect sit in the corner and come up with their own representation of what the domain model is, event storming brings together technical and non-technical stakeholders in a joint exercise. The idea is that by making development of a domain model in a joint activity, you end up with a shared, joined-up view of the world. The workshop focuses on communication between product owner, domain experts, and developers. Alright, so what is event storming for? Good question. The obvious answer is to create a business model that can be used during development, to get the big picture of the product environment, its needs and goals, and to assess its complexity. But there is more. In event storming, software developers learn from subject matter experts, known as domain experts, how the industry operates and how the company operates. The meaning is to help everyone involved gain a common understanding of how things currently work and to show processes that needs to change. Event storming is best done on the whiteboard with markers, sticky notes, and pens. You can have additional paper rolls for your additional notes and other discussions. Since many people can work together, provide enough space for the sticky notes when working with multiple subdomains. It is common to use hallways to allow for enough room for the people to work around each other. Digital options are available, but some are discouraged because sometimes you need the physical contact and it will be easy to discuss. Although in this demonstration I will be using on site called Miro, which is a free site, which is a good option. It is difficult for multiple people to collaborate effectively with these tools as well. But for this demo, I think that will work for us. One advantages an online resources like Miro has over using real sticky notes is the ability to grab a group of sticky notes and move around the board quickly. So no need to worry about the adhesive. Alright, later we'll share some demo with Miro. Now let's talk about color coding. To distinguish types of activities, use sticky notes of various colors. There are many suggestions on color schemes to use. Whatever color scheme you use, make a legend so that everybody understands which color means what. Considering the size of the wall used during the event storming sessions, you may want to make copies of the legends for various areas. Alright, let's start with the domain events. So domain events, which is the orange color here, are business processes that are noted in the past tense. They are in the past tense as they have occurred and their items are affected by these events already. The next one is actions or commands, which is the blue colors in our case. This is the artifacts that either trigger a domain event or are a process triggered by a domain event. For example, if an invoice created domain event occurred, an action could be notify customer. Notifying a customer is noted, but implementing it is beyond the scope of what problems are trying to be understood. The next one we'll talk about the actors, which is a light yellow color in our case. So actors either cause a domain event or are responsible for initiating an action or command. For example, the customer actor initiated the order submitted domain event by completing an online order. Alright, so next one is policies, which is purple color for us. So policies are noting where special business rules come into play. For example, with a domain event of item purchased, note an action for a warehouse employee to pick up the items. A policy may note that an item weighing over 50 pounds requires 2 people to lift. Another example is if an item weighs over 200 pounds, then a forklift is required. Policies are to note where such attention is needed but not meant to cover every case whenever is required. Aggregates, which is yellow in our case, are for noting where a domain object exists. Sticking with the previous example of a domain event of item purchased, an aggregate could be a warehouse pick ticket. In code, this is likely to be class objects. Another example of an aggregate could be an invoice or customer. Notice the aggregate is enough for showing the relationship between the business process to which it relates each other. The next one we will be discuss about the external services. In this case, we mark this as a pink sticky notes. So this is like the external third-party services, for example, the payment gateway or shipping services or any other third parties. Now we will talk about the view or read model, which is green in our case. A view that users interact to carry out a task to the system. The next is questions or concerns or risks, which is the red color for us, are when domain experts or the development team have questions but no immediate answers. They require some research but are simply flagged to the workshop can continue. Using sticky notes for noting questions, you won't forget the necessary details when it comes time for development. Maybe there are good discussions, maybe there are some concerns from the risk team, or maybe there are some issues with the compliance. However, development cannot be considered complete without answers to those questions. One example could be, who decides weight thresholds for the warehouse items policy? Alright, so that's a little bit of a concepts of how the event storming should work, how you organize your workshop, maintain, who would be the joiners and all. So let's do some actions. So now I will show you some demo with our the free tool called Miro.com. But before that, let's talk about what would be our domain, what would be our process, and what problem actually we are going to solve. Okay, so for this demonstration, I have chosen a very easy domain, which is like school management system. So in this case, the name is my school. So here you will see there will be 6 modules at the moment. You can consider that. So there will be a registration process. Then after registration, a student will submit for the admission. Then during the admission, there will be few process like the quiz, then the result publish and all. Once the student got the approval from the headmasters, then they will get the notification and then they need to do the payment. Once the payment is successful, then the admission officer will proceed for the ID card generation. And when it generated the ID, then office staff will send the ID card to the student's address, which is provided while they submit for the admission. Alright, so let's go in a bit deep with the process flow. Let's visualize our high level process with flowchart. So here you can see the step 1 is student registration, then it submits for admission in the step 2. Then there will be a decision. So if admission approved, then student will go for the payment. When payment successful, then ID card will generate, and on the final step, if ID card generated, then it's delivered to student's address. And all the way, if it is failed, then student will get notified. So this is very simple domain. And now we will look through and open our Miro and we'll share how it works. Okay, So the step 1, we need to identify the domain events. So here all the stakeholders, the domain experts, the technical team, third parties, everyone will participate here, and they will discover what are the events could be for this process. So for example, once the sign up completed, then email should be confirmed, then student notifications, then the marketing officer notified, then applied for admission. And remember, this will be in the past tense, like the event already happened. So we will gather all the events that is possible here. There can be duplicates like the similar names and whatsoever. So whatever the domain experts and other stakeholders comes in, right? They all put together here. Then we'll collect this, and then that's it. That's our the domain event so far for this small process. So the next step is we need to find the boundary and rearrange the events, and also we need to remove any duplicates. Once we identified those, then we will make it a sequential so that we can proceed further. So from our flowchart, you can see here we rearrange it. So for step 1 was students sign up, so then it get the email confirmed. Now once the email confirmation, there will be a notification to the marketing officer. From our flow chart, we know the step 1, so that is registration. So if we make the sequence, so here you will see the student sign up, then email confirm. Once the email confirmation done, then the marketing officer will notify. Then student will save their information, upload documents, transcripts, addresses, emergency contracts, whatsoever, the basic information from the student. And then the student will apply for admission. Once the admission applied, then the admission officer will be notified. Then he will generate the quiz and send to the student. So student get notified. Then when student complete the quiz, then again the admission officer will be notified, and admission officer will publish the result. Once the publication is done, then student will get the result is pass or fail. So if it is pass, then the headmaster or the principal officer will approve the admission. Then student will notify for the make payment. So when student made the payment, then again account officer will verify and then pass to the admission officer. Then the next step will be admission officer will proceed for the ID card generations. Once the ID card generate, then the delivery third party team may be different company or whatsoever, then the delivery team will deliver the ID card to the student. So this is like the sequence of all the events that we are thinking of at the moment, and it can be changed anytime. But so far, as per, because this will be our first event storm, right? So maybe we can have second or third and so forth. So as per this first discussion with the stakeholders and domain experts, this is our decisions so far for as you can assume at the moment. Then we go to the next step. So next step is to locate those comments. So we have the event now. Now how this will work? So we need to also add those comments. For example, you can see here submit for sign up, then you can see the send confirmation email link, then update details from the student. So comment is like the actions. So before that event happens, there needs some trigger points, right? So that it can consider as the comments or actions. So we just added all the comments, and of course this will be blue as per we decided earlier. Here one interesting part is, see, there is a purple color which is our policy. So here if the result not pass, then student will get notified, and if pass, then the headmaster will get notified and he will proceed for his action to approve or reject or reconsideration or whatsoever. And then another policy you can see here, there is like the policy for the payment. If payment successful, then we'll proceed for the admission. If failed, then we'll ask a student to maybe try again and inform them what was the issue during the payments. Yep. And so far we have added all the comments and also rearrange the comments. Okay. All right. Then the next step will be we need to describe our data. So in this section we will identify actors. So like a student registration. So who will do the registration? In this case, like students, or it can be their parents. And in the green sticky notes, you can see we have the green and in the green sticky notes you can see we have some data which is our view model. So this data basically we need to execute those events. So once the command triggered, then this when this event will occur, then we will need this information to proceed further. Then you also notice we have some pink color sticky notes which is our external services. So email service, of course it will be a email server. Then email server will send the notifications. Then we can have a different notification servers or maybe third-party tools whatsoever. Yeah, so we have identified the actors. So in this case, a student will apply for the admission and will provide this photo, medical documents, transcripts, NIDs and all those information. And we proceed further, you will see all the green, the view models, the data we have passed here. So far that's how the event storming would look like at this point. Okay, next will be our final stage. So now in the step 5, which is our final step, we will identify our aggregates. So we will basically group all these artifacts from the event storming and we will group it with the name. So in this case, remember our aggregate was the yellow, dark yellow. So we will identify the group first. So in this case, you see this module, we can call this as registration or identity. So this is our identity aggregate roots. Then we will have the student informations related to all the informations. We will have the student aggregate roots. Then we have the admission process. For the simplicity, I didn't separate this quiz or the results and all those. So I put it all together. So this you can consider as the admission module. So once the admission done complete, then we have the payment sections. So this is we call the payment aggregate routes. And then we will have the ID card generation. So here you see we have the ID card generation. So this will be our ID card aggregate routes. And finally we will deliver. So this will be our delivery routes. All right. So far, that's all for this Miro demonstration. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you. That's all for today. So today basically we have learned the basic concepts of event storming, how you can do, what is the process, who can join and all those things. Then I have tried to show you one demonstration for our My School domain and created those domain events, then commands, actions, policies, and in this case we didn't add the questions or concern mark, but we can have the red sticky notes if you have any concerns from the users. And at the end we finalize our aggregate routes. Next chapters onward we will create our aggregate routes in code. Thank you for watching.